Yes, Farhana.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are, I welcome you, all of you, to this very important webinar on Think Breastfeeding First, a call to action for OB-GYNs, hosted by SAFOG and endorsed by UNICEF and Figo. This is a very important webinar which has been divided into 3 sessions. Session 1 will be the inaugural one. Session 2 will contain the keynote presentations, and session 3 is a panel discussion. And I would like to invite you and request all of you to stay till the end of this webinar, because all of you will be contributing a lot. Next. So, I don't think Dr. Hema Devakar needs any introduction, but for the formalities and for the rituals, I have to introduce her. And this is her brainchild, the whole thing, which we'll be talking about maternal nutrition and what we will be talking today and what we will be taking forward in the future. And I'm really very much excited about it. Dr. Hema Devakar is a medical director at Devakar Specialty Hospital, senior consultant OB-GYN, CEO and chairman, artist, dean, KCOG, chair of Well Women Healthcare at Figo, past president of OXY 2013, past vice chairman of Figo, PNCT Committee 2015, an advocate for delivering quality healthcare convener Manyata, an opinion leader and an influencer of social and legal issues relating to women's health. And she has many awards to her credit. The Figo Women Achiever Award 2015, Global Asian of the Year 2018, CME Excellence Award for Artists / Next Planned Award for Artists for her, and CSR Times Award, CSR Impact Award for Devakar Service Trust. And we have Professor Roshanara Begum, and both of them are going to be the chairs, and they are the chairs of the SAFOG Working Group on Breastfeeding and Maternal Nutrition. Professor Roshanara Begum is a Vice President SAFOG, Focal Point Mentorship Program for Maternal Neonatal Health, UNFPA, Government of Bangladesh, Vice President Mohila Parishad, Bangladesh, and the Vice President Gynae Endoscopic Society of Bangladesh and Gynae Oncology Society as well. Past editor of the Journal of OGSB, past OGSB President 2014 to 2016, past Secretary General of OGSB, Country Representative AOCOG, Chairman Education Committee SAFOG, and she has the Independence, she got the Independence Day Award from AI Telemedicine in 2019 and the Figo Award in recognition of women obstetrician gynecologists. And Professor Roshanara is a really very renowned gynecologist of Bangladesh.
Thank you very much, Farhana. Namaskar. On behalf of Dr. Rohana Hatatua, the president of SAFOG, and Yusuf Latif Khan, the Secretary General of SAFOG, Dr. Sham Desai, the President-elect of SAFOG, and the newly formed committee, which is being born today, with Dr. Roshanara Begum and myself as the chairs, and Farhana Diwan as the secretary of the working group of the SAFOG Nutrition and Breastfeeding Committee. I extend my very warm and very hearty welcome to all of you. Well, the buzzword is harnessing the golden hour. Think breastfeeding first. Think of initiating the feeding within 1 hour of the birth. So to set the context, ladies and gentlemen, it was that one golden hour that was harnessed by 3 different organizations, Vani Sethi, Ashabir, and Zivai from UNICEF, requested the Figo team, Finola McAuliffe and Mark Hansen, who are an integral part of the Figo Pregnancy and NCD Committee, who led the mission on Think Nutrition First, and the SAFOG leader, Dr. Rohana Hatatua, and on behalf of Figo, the Well Women Healthcare Committee Chair, that is myself. And it was just one meeting, that golden hour, which brought us together for this great initiative where the president of SAFOG, Rohana, made a very honest confession that yes, the nutrition needs to be in the center stage, but somehow we have ignored and neglected it so far, and we have to really get our act together. Then he wrote to the entire SAFOG team, and right from Professor Arul Kumaran all the way down to all the office bearers said, yeah, this is the right thing to do and we must go ahead. Likewise, Finola and myself wrote to the Figo team and Jean Connery, our president, and the rest of the team not only supported and brought out the Figo statement on breastfeeding and think breastfeeding first in the first hour, but also lent us the support from an excellent and a distinguished speaker, Susan Crowney, who is wide awake at 1:25 a.m. from her part of the world and is joining us to address on how small steps can make a great leap forward. So this coming together, as if it was not enough, the all-inclusive president, again, Dr. Rohana Hatatua, I must place my sincere thanks. He said, let's involve Dr. Ravichandran, the regional trustee of Figo, and also the AOFOG Ratnasiri, who is very much present with us. And so it is everybody's responsibility. Every time, everywhere, we are pledging that we put our best foot together in the right direction to move the needle forward for some important initiatives on nutrition and breastfeeding. And there emerged the working committee led by myself and Roshanara, and the secretary being Farhana Diwan, who I've just expressed my sincere thanks to. And this is the context in which we are hosting through SAFOG this brilliant program today as our first big step in our long journey. Thank you very, very much, not only to the distinguished faculty who have joined us, but also all the organizations and the delegates who are witnessing this program. This is Dr. Hema Divakar, who now has the pleasure and privilege of introducing Dr. Farhana Diwan, who is a Master of Ceremonies and the Secretary for the working group. Needless to say that Farhana is a very dynamic and a very enthusiastic individual who is always into action. She's the Deputy Secretary General of SAFOG. She's the President-elect of her National Society, the head of department in a major medical college in Bangladesh, and she's a professor of OB-GYN in the medical college, the SMSC, which it reads, and a Deputy National Coordinator for some of the very major initiatives from Figo, as in the Figo PPH bundle and the Figo PPIUCD initiative. And we have had the pleasure of working with Farhana since last 2.5 decades. And we place on records the strong support lent by the entire team of Figo and UNICEF in endorsing and strengthening our resolve and initiative through SAFOG in this region for Think Breastfeeding First in the first hour after birth. So ladies and gentlemen, namaskar and welcome again to the next couple of minutes of what we promise would be a very insightful session, which will urge you to think better and do more in this direction on nutrition and breastfeeding. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hema. I think that you are the right person in the right place, and we are looking to a very bright future. So, dear audience, before going into the session one itself, I would like to hear from Professor Roshanara a few words as regards to setting the context. So Professor Roshanara, please, over to you for your opening remarks.
Thank you, Professor Farhana. Thank you, Professor Hemal. Actually, already she's the dynamic person, and she details everything she told about this our program. And I'm very much grateful to Dr. Rohana, Professor Arul Kumaran, Dr. Yusuf Latif, Himadi Bekar, Professor Farhana Dewan, and all the distinguished those who are here, Rubina Sovel, everybody. They are those who actually think about this. It is a time-demanding subject, the action for the breastfeeding and for the maternal nutrition also. These two topics are actually the common and physiological, but still from the 19th century and 21st century, we are again thinking about that how we can promote the breastfeeding. It is the normal physiological procedure, but it's still there is a lack of we cannot provide the promote the breastfeeding properly in the South Asian region also. So we have to fight for this. And about the maternal nutrition, it is also important. I think Himadi Bekar and we are all the committee will decide. We will again in our next session we will go for the maternal nutrition. So I'll welcome everybody, those who are our faculty, are the distinguished learned audience also. They are the main person in our session. So I will welcome everybody. So they will participate, and till the end of the session, they will participate in our session. Again, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Professor Roshanara. So we are moving on to the first session, which will be, which is mainly the inaugural session. And here we'll be listening to the welcome message and presidential address by none other than Dr. Rohana Hatatua. He is the dynamic president SAFOG, and he is taking SAFOG to great heights, as we all know. So Dr. Rohana Hatatua, he is the president SAFOG, chairman Nine Wells Care Mother and Baby Hospital, secretary general AOFOG, Figo chairman Menstrual Disorder Committee, vice president South Asian SAFOMS, and past president Sri Lanka College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Over to you, sir, for your welcome message.
Thank you, Farhana, for your very kind introduction. So good afternoon and good morning to everybody. I'm very happy to be able to participate in this very important webinar. Actually, Dr. Hema Divakar, who is the real lead of this program, clearly outlined the birth of this new working group and also the turning of a new chapter in SAFOG. And so I really thank her for outlining the whole history behind this brief history which happened during the maybe the last few weeks, which has led to so many changes in our federation. So thank you, Emma. So, and I'm happy to be able to participate in this webinar, and I thank Emma for accommodating the time I proposed to her, because I have some other engagements to attend to. So I'm happy that this SAFOG webinar is titled Think Breastfeeding First, a call for action for OB-GYNs to commemorate the World Breastfeeding Week. And so it has been organized by SAFOG Working Group on breastfeeding and maternal nutrition, and has been able to get the support of Figo and UNICEF. So I'm thankful to the chair of the newly formed working group, the dynamic Dr. Hema Divakar, whom you just heard. I mean, from her speech, you know that she is all out to do something. I mean, she's nothing else than work is a motto. And I thank her for initiating this idea and organizing this program with all these organizations. And I'm happy to understand that the Figo president, Dr. Jean Connery, who is very supportive of all our activities, is giving us a recorded message. As we all know that she is very busy with so many activities which she has to, but still she is very, it is very nice of her to send us a message which will encourage everybody. And also, Hema has been able to get the participation of Dr. Ravi Chandra, the newly appointed regional trustee for our region, and also Dr. Finola McAuliffe, the chair of the Figo Committee on Impact of Pregnancy on Long-Term Health, and also get Dr. Susan Crowe and others from the Figo to join this program. So, as was mentioned by Eva, activities of SAFOG in relation to breastfeeding and maternal nutrition was lying very dormant. And this was only awakened by Hema herself by introducing us to Dr. Pani Sethi of UNICEF, who is an equally active and committed person. So the introduction brought about a very strong relationship between UNICEF and SAFOG, and in no time, they planned so many activities, including the signing of an MOU. So it was only on the 1st of August, just 2 days ago, I was able to participate in the activity organized by the SARC Secretariat in association with UNICEF and SAFOG on narrowing the missed opportunities to protect, promote, and support breastfeeding in South Asia, the program which was held at the SARC Secretariat in Kathmandu. So the meeting was addressed by the Secretary General SARC, His Excellency Asela Veeraphone, and the Regional Director of UNICEF, Dr. George Laria Ajay. So I was also able to participate in the panel discussion, and the meeting was very informative and very fruitful, and which was enjoyed by everybody. So, and in the evening, the SAFOG and UNICEF signed an MOU on maternal and newborn health and nutrition. So I am thankful to Dr. Georgia, the Regional Director of UNICEF, and all the other officers of UNICEF for this initiative and for all their assistance, which will give SAFOG much strength to carry out the activities in our South Asian region. So I am happy to see today Dr. Siva Murira, Regional Nutrition Advisor of UNICEF, also speaking to us today. We appreciate very much Dr. Murira's assistance for our activities. And also, Emma has been able to involve experts and leaders who are working on breastfeeding as resources in this webinar from the SAFOG, as well as from UK and so many other places. So we have Professor Rubina Sohel, who is a past president of SAFOG, who is very active in SAFOG and participating and giving all the assistance in almost all the programs. The Professor Raushan, the chair, Dr. Ratnasiri is also the treasurer of SAFOG, Yusuf and Farhana, the two secretaries, and also the members of the newly formed breastfeeding working group. So it is good that we have been able to revive this neglected area of breastfeeding and maternal nutrition, an area we have not been concentrating very much, as we were very much involved with other activities such as reducing maternal mortality, gynecological cancers, and gender-based violence, and so on in our region. But now we realize that breastfeeding and maternal nutrition are equally or more important fields that we have to address. So as we all know, if we don't have a proper foundation, the whole structure will be of no value. So breastfeeding in the first hour of delivery, though is around 90% in Sri Lanka, in other countries in our region, it is at a lower level. So it is due to mainly due to the lack of awareness of health staff and the people, and also the less priority given, inadequate political view, interference from manufacturers and distributors of breast milk supplements. So there are so many things which contribute to this. So, but we all know that breastfeeding during the first hour and practicing exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months gives much more, so many benefits to the baby, not only to the baby, but also to the mother. So this we all know. So we should not deprive this golden opportunity to the newborn and the mother. So I again thank Dr. Vani Sethi of UNICEF and HEMA for all their work. And I am sure that today's program will be a real call and an eye-opener to all obstetricians and gynecologists to be baby-friendly and work towards achieving our targets of breastfeeding in the first hour after delivery and exclusive breastfeeding in the first 6 months. I'm sorry that I am unable to be with the whole program and have to leave shortly for another involvement. I would have liked very much to be here, but I have to leave. So I wish the program was a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very, very valuable and encouraging words. And we are so happy that at least you could be with us, even if for a short time. So we are moving forwards to the next part in the session 1. We have the special address by Dr. Ravi Chandran and Dr. UDP Ratnasiri from FOG, and Dr. Ravi Chandran is a regional trustee, as sir said, from Figo. So Dr. Ravi Chandran, he will not be here physically, but he has sent a recorded message. After reading the CV, we will listen to his message. He is a candidate for the position of Figo Regional Trustee, AFOG, member of Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, UK, Master of ONG, MOG, Fellow of Royal College of Physicians, Ireland, Fellow of Academy of Medicine, Malaysia, subspecialty maternal fetal. He's a maternal fetal medicine, current position consultant OB-GYN, Gleneagles Hospital, Kuala Lumpur, and he has a lot of publications to his credit. And he's a vice president. He was a vice president of AFOG, and he was a president-elect AFOG, but he's the past president of AFOG. So we'll listen to his recorded talk.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Breastfeeding remains a challenge in South Asia, with 1 in 2 not being breastfed within the first hour of life, and 4 in 10 not being exclusively breastfed within the first 6 months of life. I would like to congratulate the SAFOG team for organizing this event in conjunction with the World Breastfeeding Week, and also to thank them for involving both Figo and AFOG in this very worthwhile endeavor. Special thanks to Dr. Rohana Hatatoa, the President of SAFOG and Secretary General of AFOG, Dr. Vani Sethi from the UNICEF Regional Office for South Asia, and of course, our ever-dynamic Dr. Hema Devaka, the Figo Chair for Well Women Healthcare. I am confident that this webinar will be a great success and will enable us to rise to the challenge of protecting, promoting, and supporting breastfeeding in South Asia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi. So, dear audience, now we move on to the special address by Dr. Ratnasiri, who is the Treasurer SAFOG and Chair of the Mater and Child Health AOFOG. He is a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist, immediate past president SLCOG, Treasurer SAFOG, Chairperson Maternal Fetal Medicine Committee AOFOG, Chairperson IRC-RCOG, and Secretary BOS in OB-GYN. Over to you, Dr. Ratnasiri.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity, Farhana. So our theme today is think about breastfeeding in the first hour. Can you see me or can you hear?
Yes. We can see and hear you.
Yes, thank you. So I congratulate you all, the working team, for initiating this, the breastfeeding, the first hour of life. I think as obstetricians generally, and the midwives working in the field should initiate this, even at cesareans. We used to feed our babies during the cesarean. So this is a very much good initiation. So globally, I think the breastfeeding is a problem for developing as well as developed countries. So these poor infant feeding patterns and their consequences is one of the major global problems, and it's a serious obstacle to social and economic development. So being a great extent is a man-made problem. I think it had been there traditionally with different practices over the past few years, like relying on the formula feeding and urbanization of mostly the rural areas, as well as the new role of the women's requirement in the market, which all these have made it as a secondary problem for breastfeeding. Now, countries like Sri Lanka, I think Dr. Rohan Hathuto mentioned, we have a 90% practice of breastfeeding in the first hour. So there are international code of conducts, code of promotion of and protection of breastfeeding and support the breastfeeding, and also the code of conduct for marketing of designated products for the breast rivals. So I think some of these countries in our region are following, especially Sri Lanka. We have made mostly the hospitals, the maternity hospital, baby-friendly hospitals. So it includes initial breastfeeding, starting from the first hour, may not be the first hour. The baby is delivered to the lap of the mother and the baby crawls to the breast, and that initiation starts from the labor room or at the theater. So these practices are very much important now. When the baby gets a bond between the mother and the baby at the beginning, at the time of delivery, that will continue for some time. But other factors, like what I mentioned, are the problems that we face, and that gradually reduces the increase, the intake of breastfeeding. So I congratulate the team that for initiating this breastfeeding, think breastfeeding in the first hour, and continuation of this feeding. So as a president, chair of the SAFOG Committee of Maternal Fetal Medicine and the second treasurer of the SAFOG, I wish you all the best, and we hope that this will be a very important program and that will support the mothers and women in our region to promote and continue breastfeeding. Thank you, Farhana, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ratnasiri. I think that you have just rightly mentioned that we should give so much importance of the breastfeeding in the first hour, which is, I think, lacking, and which provoked all of us to go for this thing. So, dear audience, we have last but not the least, the message from the President Figo herself, Dr. Jean Connery. We will listen to her. We all know she's a very dynamic person and very much interested in the South Asian region activities. She is the Services Initiative Vice Chair of PMNCH Provider Engagement Committee, Secretary's Advisor Committee on Infant and Maternal Mortality, Department of Health and Human Services, Board Member for the Forum Institute and the Heartland Health Research, past President of American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, award and fellowships. She has Physician of the Year Award, Placer Country Medical Society 2016, 2016 Outstanding Alumni Award from California State University, Chicago, 2014 the United States House of Representatives acknowledged by Dr. Connery accomplished in women's health and entered in the commendation into the Congressional Record. So, dear audience, let's listen to Dr. Jean Connery's recorded message.
Good day and welcome to our SAFOG webinar on breastfeeding. The South Asia Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecology wants to greet the World Breastfeeding Week with a very important webinar. It's hosted by my colleagues from Figo, Dr. Fionnuala McAuliffe, Dr. Hema Divakar, Dr. Rubina Sahal, and my dear colleague from California, Dr. Susan Crow. I know you're going to get great tips on breastfeeding and a really strong message about why we should think of the breast first, and as OB-GYNs, be the ones who are able to support women's breastfeeding efforts from around the world. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, madam. I think that we are so much encouraged by your message as well. So, dear audience, we are at the end of the session 1, but before going to the end of the session, we have a very important part, that is the release of the Figo statement endorsed by all organizations. So put your hands together to see observe the release of the Figo statement, dear audience.
Thank you again, Farhana. Before the Figo statement is released, I would like to place on records my very, very sincere thanks to the Figo team who is here with us, the chair of the Pregnancy and NCD Committee, Dr. Fionnuala McAuliffe, Mark Hansen, and the entire team who has put a brilliant piece of work together in making this statement. They are the backbone for the draft per se, with the Division of Maternal Fetal Medicine headed by Bo Jacobson and supported by the other committees in collaboration with the PNCD committee, as in Dr. Rubina Sohail, who chairs the Women in Crisis Committee, myself, Dr. Hema Divakar, the chair of the Well Women Healthcare Committee, and of course, the leader, Dr. Jean Conry. And when we say that the title of this program, it's a call to the OB-GYNs. So Figo, the global voice for women's health, wishes to join hands with all other organizations, the distinguished speakers and members here and all the delegates in amplifying this voice to reach every woman, everywhere, every time in the best possible way towards the position that the Figo takes in declaring, harnessing the golden hour for initiating the breastfeeding in the first hour after birth. In this statement, the Figo makes its commitments to do several important things, and we think in doing all of these, we are better together. I see some of my very beloved champions on the screen here, Sneha, Preeti, and others from India as well. So I'm very, very sure that we will join hands to amplify the global voice. So maybe ask the Figo position statement to be released here, and all of you can look it up on the Figo website as well. Chitrakala? Thank you very much, Farhana.
Thank you, Dr. Hema, once again. So we are moving forward. I think that was a real Figo statement and endorsed by Jean Conry herself. And of course, Dr. Hema Devakar was there as well. So we are moving on to the session 2. And this session will be chaired by Dr. Fionnuala McAuliffe. who is the Chair Figo Committee on Impact of Pregnancy on Long-Term Health, and Dr. Roshonara, Chair SAFOG Working Group on Breastfeeding and Maternal Nutrition. So I would now like to introduce the two chairpersons of this session. And this session has got two keynote addresses by two very eminent speakers. So Dr. Fionnuala is the Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology at National Maternity Hospital, Dublin, Head Women's and Child Health at University College Dublin, Director of the UCD Parental Research Center, Lead for Maternal Medicine at National Maternity Hospital, Executive Council Member of the Figo, Member of Figo Pregnancy Non-Communicable Disease Committee, co-lead of the Figo Pregnancy, Obesity and Nutrition Initiative. Other roles include Scientific Advisor for British Maternal and role in the Medicine Society. Welcome, Madam. And another chairperson is Dr. Roshonara. We have already seen her CV. So we have two very eminent keynote presenters here, Dr. Zivai Murira and Dr. Susan Crowley. I would like to hand over the mic to the chairpersons to introduce the keynote speakers. Can I request Dr. Fionnuala, would you kindly introduce Dr. Zivai Murira?
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here at this webinar. A fantastic collaboration between Figo, UNICEF and SAFOG, and a lot of work to be done in all countries across the globe to initiate breastfeeding in the first hour. We've got a fantastic session, two internationally renowned speakers, and I would like to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Ziva Murira from UNICEF. And we will see Dr. Ziva's CV here now. He is the regional advisor at UNICEF's regional office for South Asia. In this role, he is leading broad regional efforts to improve nutrition of women and children in South Asia region, providing technical advice and support, advocacy, networking, at partnership building, capacity building, and knowledge management. He is a Zimbabwean national, an academic and research background in public health nutrition, nutrition epidemiology, and food policy. And we are excited to hear his talk on Think Breastfeeding First, Call to Action for All OB-GYNs. Over to Dr. Ziva.
Thank you so much for the generous introduction, and good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all. We are excited to join you in conversation about this important issue around breastfeeding, which means a lot for us here at UNICEF. And we are very grateful to Dr. Rohana, who was with us a few days ago, who sort of facilitated this great partnership that we've entered with SAFOG. So certainly looking forward to working with you and your membership over the next few years. Let me share my slides and then we can get started. Can you all see my slides?
Yes, we can, sir. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So again, it's a great honor and privilege to join you in conversation today around this issue on breastfeeding in the region. As a number of the eminent speakers have already highlighted, in South Asia, we are confronted with a number of big challenges. The region carries a high burden of malnutrition, very high levels of child stunting and child wasting. In addition, the region also carries a high burden of newborn deaths. Over 800,000 newborns die in the first month of life in the region. But also we know that 200,000 of newborn lives can be saved by initiating breastfeeding within 1 hour of life annually. And also we know breastfed children perform better on intelligent tests. Breastfeeding is a first food, very important for brain development, and also in terms of nurturing care for the newborns. But in South Asia, we know not all infants are benefiting from these great benefits of breastfeeding. Early initiation rates are still very low. Only 4 in 10 children born in the last 24 months were put on breast milk within the first 1 hour. That's what the evidence shows us. And this picture varies from one country to the other in the region. And secondly, 6 in 10 infants less than 6 months are exclusively breastfed in the region, which means 4 out of 10 infants are not also enjoying the benefits of breastfeeding. The good news is that breastfeeding continues for a large proportion of infants in the region until 2 years of age. So 8 in 10 children continue to be breastfed even during the complementary feeding phase. What are some of the factors which are sort of driving the breastfeeding rates that we've shown in the previous slides? Breastfeeding is more likely to be suboptimal, especially for infants born early, sick, and those who are malnourished. And then secondly, those who are born through cesarean section are also likely to be early initiated on breastfed feeding. And also, we know that infants who are born at home are also very likely not to be initiated on breast milk within the first 1 hour of life. And then women having low agency and support also likely not to breastfeed within the region. And then lastly, mothers contacted for antenatal care but not counseled enough during antenatal visits are also likely not to initiate breastfeeding within the first hour of life. And then also, secondly, one of the factors which is impacting on breastfeeding in the region is sort of the increase in the sale of formula milk within South Asia. Available evidence shows that sales of formula milk are experiencing almost 15% compound annual growth, especially in Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. And the highest distribution channels, convenience stores, supermarkets, drug stores, and pharmacies within the region. In addition, breastfeeding is far from optimal because of critical missed opportunity gaps in the region. So in South Asia, 81% of infants are delivered through skilled birth attendants. However, only 43% are initiated within the first 1 hour of life. Therefore, we feel maternity services and newborn services are not being leveraged enough to support early initiation of breastfeeding within the first 1 hour. And as you see, the picture varies across the region. And one of the eminent speakers highlighted, for example, in Sri Lanka, where we see the gap is very low, that there's strong support around breastfeeding in line with the increase in skilled birth attendants. But also in some countries, for example, Pakistan, we see that even skilled birth attendants itself as a platform has still low coverage, and early initiation of breastfeeding is even low, below 50%. The second sort of opportunity gap which we see in the region is more on the policy environment. And what we find of concern is the fact that hospitals, both public and private, and maternity facilities are not being continuously assessed for being baby friendly within the region. The situation is even worse in Bhutan, India, Maldives, and Nepal. And lastly, South Asia is a region exposed to high risks of disasters, but we don't see strong support in the region in terms of support for breastfeeding in emergency situations, in line with global guidance on infant feeding in emergencies. The third sort of opportunity gap, which I want to draw your attention around, is that working mothers, both in the formal and informal sector, are not adequately supported by family-friendly policies and legislations, including paid leave to enable them to support breastfeeding, especially for women in the informal sector. They are the worst affected, and they don't get maternity protection benefits across the region. What can be done to close the opportunity gaps and to protect and promote and support breastfeeding? This is where we feel professional associations such as SAFOG and your country networks play a very important role, because you are in contact in support of pregnant women during pregnancy, which is a great opportunity to ensure they get skilled support around breastfeeding, and also they get adequate counseling to adhere to the appropriate breastfeeding practices. Therefore, I would want to sort of end the presentation by sort of highlighting a number of areas where I feel SAFOG and its membership in the region can play a critical role in protecting, promoting, and supporting breastfeeding. Number one is support on the implementation of the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding in facilities with maternity and newborn services, and ensuring these facilities are there to the 10 steps, but also support some of the legal measures which have been put in place by national governments to protect breastfeeding. And then secondly, it's a call to SAFOG and its membership to improve access to skilled breastfeeding counseling as part of our comprehensive breastfeeding policies and programs in the hospitals and health facilities. And number three, we feel SAFOG, with its extensive membership in South Asia, offers an opportunity to strengthen capacity of obstetricians and gynecologists. And one way of doing this is to integrate the baby-friendly hospital initiative competencies into pre-service training and continuing education of obstetricians and gynecologists in the region. And then the last point, which is equally important because of the widespread marketing and sale of breast milk substitutes in a number of countries in the region, we call upon SAFOG to protect caregivers, mothers, their families, but also healthcare workers from the unethical marketing influence of the formula industry. This should be done in line with the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes. But also, we call upon you to help support monitoring and reporting of any violations so that we can ensure strong enabling environments for mothers and their families to adhere to the appropriate breastfeeding practices, in particular, early initiation and exclusive breastfeeding, which you've seen from the data that we presented. There are still a lot of gaps, and also a lot of infants are not benefiting from early initiation and exclusive breastfeeding. And we feel that if we improve the breastfeeding rates in the region, we can have more impact on newborn mortality, but also we have bigger impacts on reducing malnutrition within the region. So on that note, I would like to conclude by encouraging you and your membership to join us in protecting, promoting, and supporting breastfeeding in South Asia. And with that, we can save one newborn life each minute by just taking the simple measures of improving the rates of early initiation in South Asia. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and looking forward to engaging with you in the coming years as we join forces to support strengthening of breastfeeding and improving the practices in the region. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, doctors.
Yeah.
For a fantastic talk, and really outlined for us how much work we all have to do in order to improve breastfeeding, particularly in the first hour. And thank you for the 4 points that we can focus on. And I might just ask you a specific question, if I may, about the first hour, the barriers to breastfeeding in the first hour that you mentioned: cesarean section, operative vaginal delivery, postpartum hemorrhage. These are specific, we say, physical and medical barriers. Do you have any suggestions how we might overcome these barriers?
Yes, yeah, so I think the first barrier sort of babies born early, sick and malnourished. As you know, 1 in 4 infants in South Asia is low birth weight. So this is a perception challenge that because they are born small, probably breast milk is not sufficient to support them. And so sometimes mothers, families, they choose not to do breastfeed, especially the exclusive breastfeeding. So I think during antenatal care, since you are in contact with the family's mothers, the counseling part becomes very important. So we feel during antenatal care, sometimes the nutrition component of counseling is very weak. So it's an area where we can work with you to see how we can sort of further strengthen. And sort of the second driver around cesarean births, this is an impact due to the separation of the mother and the infant, the newborn infant. So basically it makes that early initiation part sometimes challenging. So I think lactation support becomes very important. How do we provide that lactation support to ensure the first food given during that 1 hour is this breast milk? That's something that can be done. But also secondly, I think on the part of cesarean births, and this sort of a broader call that we see a big increase within the region. And of course, this is important for some mothers or pregnant women who may encounter complications, but sometimes we see that even with outside the complications, sometimes it's being prescribed cesarean section, and also some families, pregnant women are choosing that even without complications. So I think it's a broader issue that would need to sort of be addressed by the gynecology obstetric community within the region. So these are some of sort of our suggestions around some of these issues. And we really think the gynecologists and obstetricians play a very critical role in sort of informing, educating, your fellow members that some of these factors are impacting the breastfeeding rates, and as a result, these are key preventive intervention we are losing an opportunity to optimize it to save newborns in the region. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very comprehensive answer. And thank you again for a really fantastic talk. I'm going to hand you over now to Dr. Roshan Arabijam, who will introduce Dr. Susan Krogh. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Zivae Muraria, for your excellent presentation. Actually, always I used a word, breastfeeding is the first vaccination from the mother to the baby. So we have to always remember these things, the thing breastfeeding first within 24 hours. And we also need the good quality antenatal care also for improving this thing. So I need the CV of the Dr. Susan. Welcome, Dr. Susan. Dr. Susan Crowley, she's the clinical professor of OB-GYN, maternal and fetal medicine, and she's a member, Maternal and Child Health Research Institute, SAFOG Committee Opinion 756, optimizing support for breastfeeding as a part of the obstetric practice, and safety and ergonomic challenges of ventilating a premature infant during delayed cord clamping. It's a very important thing. Maternal attachment insecurity is a point predictor of depressive symptoms in early postnatal period, and safety and ergonomic challenges of ventilating a premature infant during delayed cord clamping. So welcome, Dr. Susan, for your excellent presentation.
All right, thank you. I am so humbled and inspired to be here. Only an OB-GYN could be so interested and excited at 2:30 in the morning here, but this is really one of the most important things that I think that we can be talking about. I'm going to share my slides, and for a moment you will see, excuse me, a portion of the screen, excuse me, that is not the talk, but I will quickly bring this up. So presenter view. Okay. So in any case, I also just want to express my gratitude for the organization of this event. I was so inspired hearing from Dr. Maria regarding the perspectives from UNICEF, and I am speaking here today from California in the United States, in the western portion of the United States. And I am extremely grateful for the work that UNICEF has done on a global level and has impacted the work that we do. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background today about the United States, about our current state of breastfeeding. And I'm going to talk about those first steps that we can take in the delivery room. But as background, I know that we are here because we all care about this topic very dearly. But this is a communication tool put together by American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, really focusing in addition to the benefits for the baby, but really talking about also, this is important to the health of our mothers, lowering rates of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and there tends to be a dose response impact the longer that lactation is continued. In terms of the United States, I just, I found it fascinating as I looked into breastfeeding rates and in the region that SAFOG is covering. And I am extraordinarily impressed from my perspective that breastfeeding continues for 8 out of 10 children through that second year. In the United States, we have a strong influence and we are by the formula industry. And I just want to call your attention that an increasing number, almost 20% of our babies receive formula in the hospital in the first 2 days of life. And that this is something that, in spite of great improvements that we've seen in our country with lactation over the last 2 decades, we are very pleased to have reached 35% of our babies breastfeeding. And in California, where I live, we have almost half our babies still breastfeeding at 1 year. I see that this goal and these achievements are strikingly lower than we know that they should be in order to achieve many of the longer term benefits of lactation. I am giving you some historical context in that in the United States, we have not had skin to skin and rooming in as the norms, particularly until recently. And we've made great progress with that. And I'm going to talk to you today about the hospital progress that we've made at my institution. But just to highlight, most of us had not seen skin to skin. And during our training, this was what I would have considered skin to skin until about 2010. And I'm someone who cares greatly and deeply about this topic. I didn't know that skin to skin was prevented by wrapping the baby up in blankets, and that this instead is what we're talking about when we're talking about skin to skin. And these were, I wanted to give you that kind of perspective of where we were coming from in my hospital. And then how uniquely positioned we are as obstetricians, gynecologists to influence what happens in the delivery room. So why are we talking about this? In addition, we've talked about skin to skin contact and breastfeeding, but in addition to that, babies have better thermoregulation, respiratory stability, blood glucose, and I wanted to highlight infant crying. This was something that throughout my years of delivering babies, it's been quite a few years now, we wanted to hear babies cry, and we wanted to hear them crying for a long time. This was quite an adaptation for us to only hear some of the beginning cries, and then to see a baby calmly bonding with their mother. This is one of the few randomized controlled trials that we find in the world of lactation. And I wanted to bring this up here. It's a randomized controlled trial where it demonstrated that there was an early skin-to-skin contact group and a control group, and the control group received routine care of the newborn on a separate surface. And for the group who was able to have skin-to-skin contact from the very beginning, they had exclusive breastfeeding rates at 48 hours of 95% and at 6 weeks of 90%, as compared to the group who didn't have that early skin-to-skin contact, 38% at 48 hours and 28% exclusive at 6 weeks. This is one study, but I think it highlights why we're talking about this topic today of what we can do in our delivery rooms. So in terms of our, I will take you a little bit on the journey that we took at our hospital. From the baseline of the first thing we did would be to clamp the cord and pass it off to an awaiting pediatrician. I'd pass the baby, and then the baby would be examined, and then eventually brought to our mothers, wrapped up in a blanket. And this was about perhaps less than a decade ago. We, because of the reasons that we've talked about today, we formed a multidisciplinary collaboration with nursing, physicians, and we included the pediatricians, the obstetricians, and the anesthesiologists, all of whom had their concerns. The lactation consultants, we also needed administrative support from our hospitals, and we used a tool called A3 problem solving in order to help delineate for ourselves where we were headed and what we needed to do. And you can see in the background of this picture that we're mapping out all of the processes, and it's not simple. It would seem simple. I was hoping it would be simple, but it's not necessarily simple for us to bypass the hospital procedures in place without ensuring the safety and the collaboration of all the people caring for our newborns and mothers. And so we did all of that work and we developed new processes, and I'm going to just share with you a little bit of what we observed when we initiated skin to skin in our delivery rooms for the first time. And to give you a bit of context, we deliver about 4,000 babies per year at our institution. And about 30% of those are delivered by C-section. And as was mentioned by Dr. Moreira, the issue of C-section is very, very important. We began with the issue of our vaginal births. With about approximately 20% of births worldwide occur via C-section. That also is an extremely important topic. So this is a baby born here and is initially crying, is set on the mom's chest, and then relaxes after that first cry. And then here we have a little bit of awakening and activity, and baby opens their eyes and then has a little bit of movement. And you can see the colostrum is being produced here just by having this baby on the mom's chest, skin to skin. And then here we have additional awakening, and the babies will go in and out of these phases as they prepare to breastfeed, and will again rest. And this baby then took some rest. Here is a video I will attempt to show you of the baby beginning to show some crawling type movements. And you can see here the legs begin to move, and this baby is showing instincts that will help bring the baby to the breast if the baby is placed skin to skin. We are doing this without weighing the baby, and we are delaying the weight, which was actually quite painful for us as obstetricians. We very much wanted to know how much our babies were weighing, but we've learned that the importance of this opportunity for our babies is so much more important than that. We then have this baby becoming familiar at the breast, and this is where we want to just do it for the baby. It's very hard as obstetricians, it's sometimes hard to be patient, and it was at this time where I was having the opportunity to observe, because I know most of us are also doing other things at this point after delivery, taking care of the mom. But it was beautiful to take time to really observe what can happen when these babies are together, skin to skin. And then this baby latched on and breastfed. We do also have a greater than 90% epidural anesthesia rate at our institution. This baby was born after natural childbirth and was not, there was no anesthesia involved in this delivery. Not all of our babies are as ambitious and do require support. And then what about cesarean delivery? As has been mentioned, this is a critical topic because of so many of our births being born via cesarean delivery. Sometimes, as was mentioned, these cesareans are life-saving for either mother and or baby. And then sometimes they are more elective. And so these are the reduction. We have worked very hard to reduce the rate of primary cesarean section. As we know, many will have a repeat C-section after an initial C-section. But I will focus now, not on that, but on what do we do at the time of cesarean section. We had more meetings that looked similar to the pictures I showed you. And we initiated a process where we do now offer skin to skin at cesarean birth at our institution. This top picture here shows you a picture of hands that are not the mothers or the caregivers. And this is a picture just to to delineate and to highlight the importance of having someone else there to support the mom, that the baby is not merely handed to the mom during surgery for her to care for. This picture below is one of my favorite pictures because at the very bottom here, you can see that the partner has his hand being grasped by the newborn. And this was such a beautiful transformation for us because normally, prior to this state, the partner would be in a completely different unit in the newborn nursery with the baby, and the mother would be here alone during the remainder of her C-section, with perhaps having had a brief moment to see her baby. But now having this opportunity has just been transformative. We worked very closely, as I mentioned, with our pediatricians, obstetricians, and our anesthesiologists. Our obstetricians, we worried that we might not have room in the operating field if the infant was placed skin to skin with the mom. We worried that there would be attention paid to the newborn and that the anesthesiologist would not have access in an emergency to manage maternal emergencies. But as we it was very strange to have somebody moving in my operative field, it felt like. And now we completely have adapted, and these problems have been completely resolved amongst the obstetricians. And in terms of, this is a picture here of one of our earlier skin-to-skin experiences. And this mom was she'd had a long labor, a long induction, and she had been on high doses of oxytocin, and she indeed had a postpartum hemorrhage. And our initial instincts were to remove the baby anytime anything came up. But our anesthesiologist here is giving a shot of methergin, and the work around the mom has been transformative in the ability for people to fit in what we thought would be an impossibly small field. This talk wouldn't be complete without talking a bit more about safety. I want to mention sudden unexpected postnatal collapse is something for us to be aware of. It is very unusual. It is rare, 2.6 to 133 cases per 100,000. But a third of the cases that do occur can occur within the first 2 hours, and this can be catastrophic. It's important for us to recognize risk factors, unsupervised breastfeeding at less than 2 hours of life. Unfortunately, cell phone use and other distractions have made their ways into our delivery rooms as well. So in terms of not every baby can be with their mother, and this is a picture of a baby who has, within 30 minutes of delivery, is getting colostrum that has been hand expressed in the delivery room while the baby went to a higher level of care. And I bring this up because as obstetricians, I want us to be aware that we can talk about hand expression of breast milk even during pregnancy. And we can do so in a way that allows our patients to gain some autonomy and confidence that they have colostrum, and that they can use this technique of hand expression, pressing against the chest wall, compressing behind the nipple, and relaxation. To this pattern is a way of not only helping moms when babies need to be separated, initiating the lactogenesis to occur, and also giving confidence, because we often hear, I have no milk, and showing them this milk. And lastly, having a little bit of hand expression can be very helpful in inspiring a newborn to breastfeed. If they get a little bit of a taste, we've seen an increase in interest. We've seen our practices of skin to skin in the delivery room spread to our neonatal intensive care unit. And we've had it has been incredibly healing for people who are unable to have their baby together with them at birth, to be able to experience this in our higher level of care in our NICUs. So that concludes what I wanted to share with you today. And thank you. I thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for all the work you all are doing.
Thank you, Dr. Susan and Kaji, for your excellent presentation. And you rightly said, it's all of the simple procedures, simple steps, but we failed to do. So this is the right time, Madhvekar and all others, we are in front of you to do something for that. We have to do this simple procedure to simple. We know all the benefits, but it's still we failed fast initiation, only 43% in Southeast Asia. So for the OB-GYN, the action plan to be taken. And thank you for excellent presentation. Any question for Susan from anybody?
Yeah. I was going to ask a question. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Dr. Crow. That was an amazing talk and a really lovely demonstration of that first hour. I just wanted to ask you briefly about breastfeeding friendly cities and breastfeeding friendly hospitals, because also cultural issues are very important in supporting women initiation and maintenance of breastfeeding. What advice would you have for people who want to go down the route of making their city breastfeeding friendly?
So what advice would I have for people who are wanting to go and to inspire their institutions to become certified as baby friendly? You know, I actually am working on that process at our hospital. We are not certified as a baby friendly hospital, but in the state of California, where about 1 in 5 births in the country occur, we have legislation. And so we have worked with our pediatric colleagues as obstetricians to put forward legislation that will now require hospitals who are birthing centers in California to offer, to either become baby friendly certified or to have equivalent practices. And most hospitals are choosing to become certified because we do have a high amount of regulatory compliance motivation, and so people are motivated by compliance. In terms of other people who are not in that environment, where I was for many years not in this environment, I think that I don't know that I will say the legislative initiatives has been highly successful. And I think also people are very interested in the United States and in helping, in making people happy. And we also, in patient, we want patients to be satisfied with their care. And we also are concerned about equity. And so I think that that's been a motivating factor in the US, that we don't have equity in our breastfeeding outcomes, as you may have noticed on that earlier slide. And most people who were offered more people who were offered baby-friendly practices would come from groups who were more privileged in our society. And so wanting to make that, and so that would be all I have to comment there. I don't know that I have a great answer as to a solution.
Actually, I used to have Madam, can I ask, make a comment on Dr. Susan's presentation?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, Dr. Susan, I think from all the slides you have shown, the slide which attracted my attention was the one with the cesarean baby latching on the breast and skin to skin, because in our country, we are doing the labor protocol and the promoting vaginal birth. We are talking a lot about skin to skin contact. We are promoting it as well, but mostly during vaginal delivery. So I think for cesarean, this is a catchy thing for us. I think to promote it, just one word from you. How do you think we can promote this thing during cesarean?
I have great experience with this, and I worked I have some gray hair you may not see on Zoom that I developed in this process. And I will say that that it's transformative for our families, for our babies and mothers, and in addition to being transformative, we've seen that it's been transformative for the physicians, and so for the physicians and the nurses who are there to support. And I would say reassuring our colleagues that safety will come first, and that anyone initially can veto. So if they feel unsafe, they can remove the baby. If the anesthesiologist, the obstetrician, the pediatrician, if anyone feels it's unsafe. And initially, a lot of babies were removed. A lot of people felt unsafe. But as time went on, as people grew accustomed, I think that was an approach that was helpful to us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. In Bangladesh also, since 1990, we are working for the breastfeeding hospital initiative. And I think there is a UNICEF representative. They were working with us and the government. And we are working with this breastfeeding in a hospital initiative. And Farhana said just now, we are also, through the midwife, we are also doing the 3 things. First, skin-to-skin contact, direct cord clamping, and breastfeeding within 24 hours. So we are doing, but still we are not up to the mark. Thank you, Susan, for your excellent.
Thank you all.
Thank you for an amazing session, and for this great collaboration that we have to promote breastfeeding in the first hour. So thank you to both speakers, and we will move on now to session 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pionuala and Dr. Oshnara. I think we were very much impressed by your very active participation as chairs. Now, dear audience, we are moving on to the 3rd session, which is the most important and the very exciting one, where we have this panel discussion. So this panel discussion, we have the theme of the panel is Think Nutrition, Breastfeeding First, Opportunities to Implement the Initiative on Breastfeed. And here we have as moderator none other than Dr. Hema Dibakar, and the panelists are Dr. Rubina Sohail from Pakistan, Dr. Mark Hansen from UK, Dr. Sneha Bhuyar from India, Dr. Tazin Abbas from Pakistan, Dr. Mangala Disnaike from Sri Lanka, and Dr. Astha Sreshta from Nepal. So I would like to hand over the mic to Dr. Hema Dibakar to continue with the panel discussion and moderate it. Over to you, Dr. Hema.
Thank you so much, Farhana, once again, and my personal congratulations on behalf of all the delegates too for the wonderful deliberations we've had so far. And Susan just said that, the legislation and the carrot and stick, and somehow we have to make this happen, the initiation of breastfeeding in the right way at the right time, etc. But all of us as champions here would agree that if we take the pledge that we will make this happen in our respective hospitals and we'll do whatever it takes, I think we would go a big step ahead. And therefore, I had labeled Susan's talk as simple steps with big impact, and that is what it will do. So if I can also place on records and acknowledge my very sincere thanks to Dr. Sheetal Joshi from Team Artists for Her, and Chitrakala Balaji and the team from Shield Healthcare for all the support they have lent in the background, and ask them to flash certain pictures where all of us are virtually taking a pledge that we will initiate the breastfeeding within the first hour for the new moms in our own hospitals. The pledge, please. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we have introspected with the soothing music that since decades, we seem to have been working towards this, but it's not rocket science. It's such a simple initiative. Still, we find many excuses, many barriers around this to institute something which is so simple, so impactful, and so effective. So we have today, once again, reaffirm for ourselves that we will do our best and we'll do whatever it takes to make this happen. So it's my pleasure now to flash the CVs of our very distinguished panel, starting with Dr. Rubina Sohail. Irrespective of whatever is written on the slide, I would like to say that she is my very, very dear friend and a very dedicated and committed colleague whom I have known since pretty long time, and her enthusiasm and her commitment and will do and must do attitude has always inspired and affected my own scaling up my own resolve and performances. Rubina is a professor of OB-GYN, but most importantly, she's the one who initiated the kangaroo mother care in Pakistan, which is so relevant to the deliberations today. She is a champion of sexual and reproductive health and rights, and therefore she has rightly been given the position of chair of the Figo Committee on Women Facing Crisis. I was telling Rubina that it's obstetricians facing crisis today with our helplessness to, get the needle moving towards initiation of breastfeeding and thinking nutrition first. She's been the past president of SAFOG and has numerous awards, accomplishments, publications to her credit. Welcome, Rubina, to the panel. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Neha Buyar, yet another very beloved Generation Next friend and colleague, who is the chairperson of the study on female breast committee of our parent organization in India, FOXY, and who has championed public awareness, advocacy, and many, many out-of-the-box kind of initiatives, one of the latest one being a program called Saheli to build the capacity of the frontline healthcare workers to initiate the breastfeeding. She's been the governing council member of the Indian College of ONG and associate member of the Royal College of OB-GYNs in London and founder president of ISOPAR from Vidarbha. She is the recipient of the National Award of FOXY, the unsung hero. But we are singing a lot about you, Sneha, in the recent past, and we hope you'll give us an opportunity to amplify our songs even more through the wonderful work that you do. She's the president of the Yavatmal Obstetrics and OB-GYN Society 2007 to 8, and relentlessly been contributing to the many facets, and we are thankful to the Federation leaders, Dr. Shanta Kumari and Madhuri Patel in the capacity of President Secretary, who have suggested her name to be included as one of our key members in the newly formed committee of SAFOG, breastfeeding and nutrition team. So welcome, Sneha. Next, we have Tazeen Abbas. Again, one of a very accomplished person from Pakistan. She's the Secretary General of the Society of OB-GYN Pakistan, principal and chairperson of the Academic Council of the Karachi Medical and Dental College, and past secretary of the governing body of the KMDC, and a number of other credits. She too is one of the members of our newly formed working group. So all of them are in right earnest prepared for a lot of work that is cut out for them in the near future. And I do hope that they will continue to deliver whatever is required for many, many years to come. Next. Dr. Mangala Dissanayake. He is the chairman Education and Setting Standards and the Chairman Guidelines Committee of the Sri Lankan OB-GYN. And I'm sure that he'll be an asset to set some guidelines and sense of direction for the working of our committee as well. He is the chair of the Guideline Subcommittee of the SAFOG as well, and the past president of the Menopause Society and the honorary secretary of the Sri Lankan College in the year 2015. And we have, as you can see, many accomplished and distinguished members of our panel. Next. Last but not the least, Asta Shrestha, who has been very humble to just give 2 lines in her CV to us. She's the assistant professor of the Nepal Medical College and Teaching Hospital, and she's the executive member of the Nepal Society of OB-GYN. So we have a good mix of panelists from Pakistan, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka. And one of the key questions which Finola McAuliffe raised was, what could be the barriers? What is preventing us from doing better than what we were already doing so far? And why are we all suddenly so worked up about moving the needle forward? One last and best attempt to change the numbers and the scenario with respect to the breastfeeding situation. So I had told my panelists that there's no match fixing, no questions will be sent ahead of time. You have to speak from your heart, and you have to be honest to place the facts in front of this august audience. So my first question goes to my dear friend Rubina, who is the chair of Women in Crisis. As I said, an obstetrician is in crisis when a woman who is about to deliver or just delivered has massive other problems that we always focus on. Are her vitals stable? Is the bleeding too much? Is she throwing up it? And you know, the developing countries, the SAFOG regions, the PPH and eclampsia being on top of the list. That is one whole concern. Our attention is heavily driven there, and sometimes already diagnosed cleft lip, cleft palate, etc. With the babies. And then to top it all, the timing of delivery, either it's a low birth weight or premature. In all these circumstances, can you be saying breastfeed, breastfeed, breast all this, that, and all at that instant to the team in your labor room? How do you think you should approach that, or what have you already been doing?
Thank you very much, Emma, for the excellent moderation and conducting this session so beautifully. So I, for one, would say, actually, there are a lot of things that I want to say, and I think the time is short. But I think it is a matter of our thought process and our commitment. And the only reason that breastfeeding is not thriving is because obstetricians and midwives did not decide to take up neonatal health as our responsibility. Most of our colleagues feel that once the baby has been delivered, their job is over and the job of the neonatologist starts. I think that is not a good approach to dealing with the issue, because the primary provider still remains the OB-GYN professional or the midwife. So I think that my attitude towards, and I would start with myself, because when I criticize my colleagues, I'm criticizing myself, and that is what I want to do today. So when I started, it was a change of attitude by talking about breastfeeding, by discussing it with colleagues. And when we started Kangaroo Mother Care, we realized that we are trying to save the life of the newborns, but we are not looking at the lives of the full-term babies. Are we doing the right things? Because one of the components of Kangaroo Mother Care was early initiation of breastfeeding. So from that idea came to us that we were not actually looking at breastfeeding, and we were not working as a team. So the neonatologists are in their own silos, we are in our own silos. Unless we become a team, we cannot achieve health for the mother, neither for the baby. So what we started doing was that we said, this is our commitment and we are going to follow it. So we allocated one of our duty consultants, actually the senior registrar, to look after all the babies and to do a special round to see whether all the mothers were being breastfed or not at the time of delivery. So I think the first and foremost thing is the attitude of the healthcare provider. If the attitude is correct and we think that the baby is the most important, after all, what is the woman spending 9 months for? She's spending those 9 months to achieve a life and healthy baby who should continue to thrive to become an adult. So if these are the objectives of the woman and these are our objectives and these are the objectives of the neonatologist, then why are we keeping to our silos? We need to work together to encourage the women to breastfeed. And believe me, when I say it is a thought process, I can actually vouch for myself. So whether PPH is happening, whether there is whatever is happening to the mother, we make sure that the mother feeds the baby. And in Services Hospital, where I used to work, starting with the initial breastfeeding initiation within 1 hour of birth, we started with as low as 10% and we took it to 84%. So actually it can be done. It is only what is our attitude. So even the cesarean sections that were being done under spinal anesthesia, and we told the mother beforehand, and we introduced a package of counseling at 28 and 32 weeks, so that when the mother reaches that stage of delivery, she's also committed to breastfeeding. So it is teamwork between the doctors, midwives, and the women themselves, that they are committed to breastfeeding. Then whatever may happen, all hell will break loose, but you would never forget that the woman needs to breastfeed the baby. And I think the attitude of the nursing assistant, especially that of neonatology, also needs to change, because they want to run away with the baby. And when you want to do early initiation of breastfeeding, you can't let them run away with the baby. So I keep on telling myself, my doctors and my assistants in the private hospital where I work, don't let the baby go. So you dry the baby, you keep the cord connected, you give the baby the mother's warmth and skin-to-skin contact, and initiate breastfeeding in a normal, healthy baby with a good APGAR score. Only then you give the baby to anybody else. So my take on the matter, and I wouldn't take more of your time, but now my take on the matter is, it is your motivation and drive. If you're motivated, if you are convinced, you will convince all others around you. But if your motivation is lacking, nobody is going to make sure that the mother breastfeeds. So I think this is very important. And one last comment, the commitment of the grandmothers. The grandmothers are so much in love with their daughters. Let the mother rest and go to sleep, and she doesn't have to feed the baby. I'll give the bottle. I think that is a very big no-no. And we should tell the grandmothers that this is not healthy. And this is the right of the baby to be breastfed immediately at birth. I was in a session with UNICEF actually yesterday in Pakistan, and we had a very interesting session. And over there, one of the participants commented that the colostrum is gold for the baby. And if that gold does not reach the mouth of the baby, then what are you all doing? So that has to be ensured. And I think that is how we need to be committed, and we have to be responsible, not only the mother, but for the baby. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rubina, because we are back to the word gold. With the Figo statement begins by saying, harness the golden hour. The gold has to reach the baby in the first hour, and that is a golden opportunity not to be missed. And the takeaway from you is the attitude, and one team member always to keep a track of this and be responsible to make sure that the simple job of initiation of breastfeeding within the first hour is done. And it is doable if you resolve that it has to be done. Now, shifting to Sneha Buyar on the attitudes of not the healthcare professionals, but the patient herself and her family. There is a very special thread of preference to the male babies in our country, as many people from the SAFOG regions would know. So if it is a second born, third born female, sometimes the attitude of the mother herself, she's so stubborn, she wants to ignore, and she's angry with herself that she's not produced a male offspring. Sneha, do you encounter such things in Yavatmal or any of the regions that you have worked with before, and how real this problem is, and how do you try to find a solution around it?
Yes, thank you so much, madam, for that question, and thank you for making me the part of this very prestigious event. Coming to your question now, as Dr. Rubina has already described, that you have lack of knowledge, right from various barriers, if we talk about, right from lack of knowledge, what so much we are promoting about the benefits to baby, mother, to the nation, and to the earth. In spite of that, there's no improvement in the rates over last few decades. We can see that, of course, there are certain myths which are also there, myths and discriminations, you can say. When we talk about myths, yes, the initial milk, that is what we call it as colostrum, is not good for baby and it's a dirty milk and to be discarded. These are some of the, myths. Some people say maybe the baby is not getting good milk because it is yet to be initiated. So you supplement with some sweet water, jaggery water, honey, etc. All these problems. And as you have rightly said, the discrimination. Yes, in India, I suppose the discrimination is a lot as far as the sex is concerned. If the baby is a male, this is a patriarchal, male dominant society. Even today, we could not change the mindset of people, and that's a need of the hour. So male is fed to a longer time and, on priority. Even if you have twins babies, we can easily make out the mother will feed the male first. So much so that, as you have rightly pointed, if it is a second or third female, that's the worst part. The mother gets depressed, frustrated, and the postpartum blues and so many problems. She doesn't feel like feeding the baby, especially so when the baby is a female. And I can quote you a real patient of mine that was 15 years back, who actually had a third female. 3 kg healthy baby, uneven for delivery. And we, because we are into this breastfeeding promotion right from 30 years, she was trained a lot, supported by our nurses. In spite of repeated reminders, she was not feeding the baby. And maybe, a sad part of it is after 1 month, she came for follow-up and she said, we lost the baby because the baby was not feeding on her own, and she didn't try to show it to some neonatologist. So that's a sad story we have. I think the other factors which would, really contribute to this is our obstetricians' attitude. We feel that we have delivered the mother and we have done a great job, but that's not the end of the story. We have to go ahead and support the breastfeeding. When we are talking about this breastfeeding, the government of India also has the MA initiative, that is Mother's Absolute Affection, which teaches you that, which trains the healthcare workers to deliver the baby on the mother's abdomen, and even before cutting the cord, let the baby crawl to mother's breast and let it feed on its own. We have seen the few videos also. And I can share with you that last 5 years, we are regularly practicing this, even for a cesarean section. Our sisters, they hold the baby and we request the anesthetist to give some space, and the sister, holds and actually supports the baby. Maybe for 15 minutes or so, she will feed the baby completely, and then only she will take the baby out. That is what the practices are. Dr. Rubina has shared, I fully agree to this, maybe unnecessary or you can say the unjustified way of shifting the neonate to the neonatologist. I think because we get scared the baby will be hypoglycemic, hypothermic. So maybe if we can share the responsibility, we too in our hospitals have warmers, and we too have the glucometers. We can monitor the sugars as well. And the babies in the hospital, I think that I find in my practice as well, that is a major barrier as far as the baby's feeding, what we are talking about, the initiation and continuation or establishment of the proper milk supply. I think these are some of the factors. Of course, what we say in India, स्तनपान एक संकल्प है, विकल्प नहीं. That means breastfeeding is not an option. That should be your ultimate goal, or that should be the aim. So we should always try and feed the baby at the earliest, as we are talking about the first golden hour, and we should continue as recommended exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months and continue 2 years and beyond for continuation with the complementary feeding.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sneha. Sneha has done a lot of public health initiatives in different languages, communicating directly with the community to bring forth the importance of breastfeeding. And I think as the generations go by, it is the girls and women who are educated, who will be new mothers of tomorrow, whose attitude towards the discriminatory gender divide will slowly change, and we have to significantly support them for that. So thank you so much for your inputs. Next, we go to Mangala Disanayake. Sneha said obstetrician has to have the will. Rubina said the team has to do. But who is going to build the capacity of the team? Do you think, as of now, with Sri Lanka having, fairly a high number of initiation of and continuation of the breastfeed, how empowered and how much the capacity is built of the frontline healthcare workers or the staff nurses, who are more often than the neonatologist or the obstetrician, they are the ones who are constantly in touch. Who guides them on how to tell the mother, holding the baby, latching on, demand feeding, this, that, and the other? If you go into the thick of it, there are several little factors that they have to pay attention to. So what is the scenario in your part of the world which has helped you be a little bit of a frontline runner in successful, initiation of the breastfeeding for most babies? Yeah.
Thank you, Lady from Sri Lanka. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm very happy and honored to be in the working group. And I know Sri Lanka is one of the countries which started this breastfeeding and successfully. And now the issue is, it's true that we had a 95% women will start breastfeeding. But the issue is at the end of the 4th and 6th months, we have a very low rate, even though it's acceptable for the other countries as well. In some areas, it has come down to 50%. So why is this happening is a big issue. Now, most important thing is what's happening at the field level. We have well-integrated public health system, midwives. They're working at the grassroots level. So they will start the counseling well before they go into the hospital. So they are quite educated and trained on how to start the breastfeeding. And I know the hospital environment may not 100% suitable for breastfeeding, but we are trying our level best to start the breastfeeding as early as possible, even the cesarean section. We have a cesarean section rate of 40%, quite high, but we are trying our level best to start in the first hour. So the issue is at the level of hospital, how good they are, how competent they are when they leave from the hospital. This is the biggest issue. Even though we have what we call the baby-friendly hospital, we have a lactating centers. So mothers will have access to these centers quite frequently, and they can have mobile number, so they can call and get the advice. But issue is once they go from the hospital, the midwife is supposed to see these mothers at least 3 times in the first 11 days. And then she will see that mother at least twice until the 6th week. But issue is once after this period, midwife will have other work as well. So this is the time they will lose the interest. And this is the time a lot of pressure coming from the family members will inhibit the breastfeeding support. So this is the time we have to be very conscious that we need to take some steps to have a supporting groups. Some places we have a mother supporting groups. They will have midwife and some experienced mothers. They will advise on how to breastfeed, how to sustain, and what to take, and so on. So this is one of the issues we're having. And we have the last data on 2016. Unfortunately, we had the COVID infection. Now we are going through a really difficult period economically. We are going through a very bad patch. So we don't know how it affects the nutrition of the mother. Mother's nutrition is very, very important, because if mothers are well nourished, then the amount of fat will be reduced in the milk. So that is what we need the baby. So we really don't know what is the impact of small, because most of the mothers will return to work because of the economic issues. And because we have 30% of the women who are working in the formal and informal sector in various places. So they will return to work very early after about 3 months of leave. Women will working in the government and in the private sector will get 84 days leave. That is about 3.5 months of leave, paid leave, but then they get a half pay. So most of them will return to work after about 4 months. So these are some of the issues which we need to concentrate. I think we need to start at the level of the field level And then we definitely need to improve at the hospital level. And because this is a skill mother has to gain. So it's all depending on the knowledge, attitude, and of the mother. So we have issue. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mangala. I'm very impressed that, though Sri Lanka is on top of the list and they've done better than many other SAFOG regions, still you have the hunger to improve it even much more and do even better, sustained follow-up of the mothers who are discharged from the hospital for one thing, and also perhaps influence the advocacy and the policy makers through your advocacy about the leave and the payment during the leave, etc. So these are some very important takeaways for the other SAFOG regions as well. So thank you so much. Next we go to Professor Tazeen Abbas. The fact about, if you go to the Figo website today and see, there is quite an impressive layout there about the short-term and the long-term impacts and benefits, both to the mother and the baby, if they are breastfed. Who is it and when is it that you impress upon the mother and the family that this long list of benefits are there? Is it by default they understand that the breastfeeding is the best feeding, or do you make a special attempt, or anybody in the team makes a special attempt to see that if you exclusively breastfeed, it will impact on decline of your obesity, it will diminish your chances of becoming a type 2 diabetes, and it is the immune system and the bonding and the neural development, so on and so forth. Lots and lots of bouquet of benefits. Who is telling whom? Are we just talking to ourselves about all these impacts, or how is it reaching the women and the family?
Thank you, Hema. Thank you so much. You are very energetic. Mashallah, I must appreciate. You have moderated the session so well that I can't express my happiness, pleasure over it. Regarding the questions which you asked, first I want to make a comment. Actually, most of us are teachers, and we are teaching medical students, and we are training our postgraduates. Problem is this, that this issue has never becomes that important to us, to the most of the people, not to us. So we have never sensitized our medical students regarding the lactation counseling, nor the postgraduates. When I did my house job in 1987, my professor Sadka Naeem Jaffrey never allowed us to the neonate to receive a bottle, and we were told that you are here and you should not let this child have a bottle. So keeping that in mind, from 1987 up to now, I haven't let any neonate being fed on bottles. But the problem is this: once I go for round and I see in the ward, I saw the bottle on the bedside. I said, "From where did you get it? Who advised you this bottle?" And you would say, "Hey, they'll do hanky panky." So now the pediatrician doesn't ask them to take the formula milk. The obstetrician doesn't ask them to take formula milk, but the formula milk is advised by some people at the immunization centers. Once we send the child for BCG vaccine, OPV and all, from there they bring the formula milk tins. So we have to take care of that as well. Moreover, once we counsel the patient, we tell them about everything which you have talked about to reduce your obesity, diabetes, rapid involution. You won't be fat, you'll be so. And the bonding that occurs between mother and baby is extremely important. But sometimes the mothers and the grandmothers, as Rubina as well has said, grandmothers will come that my daughter is too sick, she just had a cesarean section, let her rest for a few days. But we have to take strong actions. We just tell them that it is very important for her to breastfeed. But the problem is this, that we don't have any lactation counselors, we don't have any nutrition counselors in the antenatal clinics, nor in the wards. So whatever we do it on our own without any support from any counselors. let me tell you one thing, that our family planning services were not working very well. I was working in a public sector tertiary care hospital. When one of the group NCMNH took up responsibility and they came to us, the thing that changed the contraception in my hospital was counseling. They placed 3 counselors on 8-hourly duty, and most of the there was no unmet need for contraception in my hospital after the counselors were there. Because doctors do tell them, nurses do tell them, but because of the busy schedule, sometimes when the patient has PPH, we all are busy with that patient, and then somebody will go for BCG vaccination and bring a tin and a bottle. Though you'll throw them in the bin, even then they will continue doing that. So we have to have these 2 things. We should have lactation counselors. Number 2, the problems which occurs when we usually discharge the patients 24 hours. Normal deliveries are discharged after 24 hours of delivery. And then when they go home, they start doing all what they want to do. So we should have lactational support hotlines. So whenever a mother is having any problem, she can just go on that hotline and ask the problems that she's having. I think that would do a lot of help. This will be a lot of help. And again, we should always emphasize on hashtag breastfeeding, because if we are going to do that, the social media is a very important media now, and it will make change. We all must do a sensitize. It is important to sensitize and disseminate the information. So it is our duty as teachers, as doctors, that to disseminate and this information. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Tazeen, I think you've given the right message, that the right messages, filtering away the myths and misconceptions, should reach in the right way to everybody, everywhere, every time, maybe through a special cadre of counselors, but some simple campaign kind of messages right across every fiber. Anybody who comes in contact with a mother-to-be or a new mother should be re-emphasizing the same message and reinforcing their behavior change again and again and again. Thank you so very much for that. Last but not the least, our young panelist on the show today is Astha. Astha, I just want to tap your experience on the breastfeeding issues during COVID times in your own hospital or in a community, and what was the attitude of the healthcare providers as well as the patients and the families themselves, because the healthcare provider may say, okay, no harm, feed the baby, whereas the family will say, no, don't touch the baby because you've got COVID. So your experiences around that, and also I want you to just give us some information about how do you tackle the issues where the mother in some circumstances is not allowed to directly breastfeed, maybe because of some drugs that she's taking or some serious amount of sickness that she's having, and she cannot directly breastfeed. And many are not aware also, office goers, yes, still the policies come into place, the use of the breast pump, etc. So where do all these figure in your conversation or in your practice in Nepal? Asta.
So first of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to say greetings from Nepal, and thank you so much, Hema ma'am, for the beautiful moderation and making me as a part of this esteemed panel. So I don't have much of experience. I am working as OB-GYN since last 5 to 6 years only. But last 3 years, when it was COVID time, it was like a chaos in our hospital, like where to deliver, especially where to deliver, and whether the mother and the baby should be kept at side by side or not, or whether the baby will get the COVID from mother. So at first it was like a chaos. We don't know what to do and what not to do. And gradually what we did in our hospital, like gradually we came to know that it's okay to breastfeed the baby even if the mother has COVID, applying all the precautions, taking all the precautions. And gradually we tend to make the baby and the mother in the same room.
Right.
If the mother is not that much sick, and if the mother is very much sick and is not able to breastfeed the baby, at that time we try to get the express breast milk from the mother if at all it's possible. And if it is not that much possible, then last resort was formula feed only. So we try to make the mother breastfeed as much as possible in case of COVID era. And in regards to the other one, what we did is, if the mother is very much sick, or if the mother is having some kinds of drugs which are not compatible with feeding the breast milk is not feeding, then we try, if the mother is sick, then we try to give the express breast milk. And if the mother is not able to breastfeed, if the drugs are expressed in the breast milk and it is not good for the babies, then we have to go for the formula milk if there is no options. But yes, if we try to do express breast milk or exclusive breastfeeding as much as possible. And in regards to the working mothers, nowadays we are getting more of working mothers, and they don't have that much of leave, especially in the private sectors and especially in the private hospitals as much. Working mothers are not given that much of leave from the hospital. So recently what has done is that human breast milk bank is being upcoming, and it is in the last things, it is upcoming. So we are planning to give that banked breast milk, or we are educating the working mothers during antenatal visit that they can express the breast milk and put it in the freeze, and whenever they are away from the home, whenever the baby has to be breastfed, they can breastfeed through those breast milk which has been expressed and kept in freeze and being back to room temperature, and then they can breastfeed that. So that's what we are doing.
Right. So this is a very comprehensive all round, all the three very, very difficult kind of areas that I tapped upon for your response, and you've really done brilliantly well, because you are the future when, more breast milk banks come into play, and how you disseminate the information. More and more groups of working mothers will be on in the community and the population. And so you've got to be really up on your toes to address all those issues. Now, the final concluding rapid round of what I want to do is titled Looking Back, Moving Forward. So first with Rubina. In this group, what is your 1-point suggestion of moving forward to make an impact on this entire issue on nutrition and breastfeeding? Because Mangal also said that nutrition of the mother, etc., is so important. So yeah, agree. So what is your one advice or action point that you would suggest that all of us should do? Yeah.
I would say 2 action points. One is counsel the mother and the family regarding the importance of breastfeeding. And the second is the healthcare provider at the point of delivery has to ensure that every baby is breastfed within the hour of birth.
So Rubina's point is, you know it, but you have to do it. Okay, so the gap between knowing and doing has to be bridged. So that's a point well taken. Sneha, I want you to tell about your Saheli initiative, which I want you to ideally spread right across the SAFOG regions. Give us some insights into that.
Yes, exactly. I too agree. You say what you mean it and mean what you say. Basically, everybody knows everything, but when the time comes for implementation, nobody is coming forward. So now that, yes, we obstetricians say that we are too busy to take care of this issue, difficult to support the lady because we have so many patients to manage. So nurses are the ones who are in close association with the patients, even after delivery, maybe the whole time of their indoor stay. And that's the very reason we thought of incorporating this and training them, making them, empowering them with this knowledge and the actual how they should support. It should be to support and promote as well. So we are training the nurses we thought of, that if the nurses or as somebody, one of the panel members said, yes, you have to have the lactation counselors and consultant. Maybe at smaller places, we don't have that. So that's a very reason nurses who can cater the treatment as well as the support, the counseling as well. So we thought of nurses who are spending their maximum time with the patients. Those are the best ones, and we can utilize their services for this. And that's a very reason FOGSI has initiated this Saheli, which is a training module for nurses. For that, the academic content is shared by FOGSI Breast Committee, that is myself. We have prepared 2 modules, only 1 hour each, because they are not theoretical, they are absolutely practical with lots of pictorial presentations and videos, actual videos of the babies being delivered and immediately put to the mother's abdomen, and actually the baby crawl, everything. So all this is included in the video and the module. So we have 2 modules, only 2 hours. And we have a certification course by FOGSI. So we are organizing such courses not only for the private individual hospital, but also for the government hospitals, so that they reach each and every corner of India, at least at present. And we are trying to, improve the quality of counseling as well as support, which they were actually giving previously also. So definitely we are working on the improvement of the quality of services. And with this, definitely the outcome will be good. The obstetrician will also be helped by this, and the pediatrician stay will be reduced, I suppose, because if the baby doesn't land up into hypoglycemia and all these problems, so taking away the baby from the mother and the close rooming in and skin to skin contact, maybe we can achieve the maximum level. That's what the aim for this. And thank you, FOGSI, and all the leaders like you for supporting this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Sneha. This is a continuum of many things that we have to do, and in continuum from Dr. Rohana Hatatuwa, Dr. Shyam Desai, who is the president-elect, will be taking over very soon, and I can already see him here, who has joined us. So this is a message to you also, Dr. Desai, that we are all geared up to do many more things beginning now, but your support through your years is very much to be on our side for achieving what we want to do. So thank you for joining us. And before I go to Mangala, if Shyam wants to make a comment, or maybe he'll congratulate.
I think it is a physiological process, but one has to emphasize again and again and make sure that the health workers are aware of the advantages of breastfeeding. So that is something which we have to really stress upon. And I'm sure with all our efforts, the things will improve drastically. Congratulations, Emma. Congratulations, Sneha.
Yes, thank you, sir. Just to update you on what you said, we have 2 modules. The first one is mainly on focusing the benefits of breastfeeding to the mother, to the baby, and to the entire nation. And second one is the exact technique and the long-term advantages. So that is how we have built up those 2 modules. And I think with everybody's help, it can spread all across the world, I think. Thank you so
again,
much.
Sneha, and thank you, Shyam. Mangala, you said the last data that you had was in 2016. So how in Sri Lanka do you collect this data on the coverage and impact of any initiative that you would have taken towards the initiation of breastfeeding and continuation of breastfeeding? Because that would be a great lesson to all the other countries to look back and actually document the scale of impact and improvement. Mangala.
Yeah, right now we have the DHS survey. DHS, it's a national survey, but unfortunately, it's sometimes exaggerated the prevalence of breastfeeding. So there are individual studies as done in various parts of the country. Probably they are more accurate than DHS, I think. So we need some kind of a surveillance.
Yeah.
should be initiated by the Ministry of Health and Family Health Bureau to get the actual figures, because we are going through a difficult period economically. We are going through a difficult patch. I'm sure there will be greater impact on breastfeeding and lactating mothers.
Thank you, Mangala, because when we implement this and we would like to audit it, we'll certainly draw your help as one of the important members of our committee, because everything to rely on the health systems may not be possible when we're doing it in private and through professional organizations.
Yes.
There are many who are willing to give us the data documentation through the courses
We are happy
that we run.
we're happy to contribute, because SUG has a separate section now. We are doing auditing on various like maternal mortality and so on. So
Excellent.
we are very happy to contribute to some of this.
Thank you so much. Tazinapa, you said that lactation counselors should be there. So what is your thought process on creating an extra vertical of human resource as in lactation counselors who are, as a standalone, or would you flip it around and say anybody existing in the healthcare system, let them all know some basics about this, because each one will double up as a responsible person to dialogue and give some right messages to the mothers and the family. What is your take on that?
Actually, Hema, if you come to think of the positivities of the family planning counselors have done to the nation, in my country, family planning counselors have made such a lot of difference. So even they can help us, but I don't think that we can take out doctors or nurses and tell you are not about to, you should not talk about the lactation of breastfeeding with the patient. Right. I do let my girls talk about the lactation, the contraception and everything, but to have a final, because you have to keep a check on them. So you should have somebody to check, because in our hospital, the woman is discharged on the 3rd day of cesarean section, and normal delivery, primary discharge is discharged after 24 hours, and multi will go within 4 to 6 hours, because they don't want to stay there but to see the children at home. So this is the problem. The problem is this: we must have somebody, though and in antenatal clinics, if we conduct some classes for the attendants, because attendants are sitting, we run some videos, we have some banners over there, which will facilitate and make them know that it is a positive impact. The breastfeeding is positive for your girl, for your daughter, and for the granddaughter who is born, your grandson who is born. So you have to change the mentality. Like, the myths about the colostrum. Nobody wants to give the colostrum, and we have to be very stern about it. You must feed your baby this milk because this is gold. But they don't understand. They will just bring honey, they'll bring gutti, and they'll put in the child's mouth. And I've seen most of the people will bring, tea, and they start feeding the child the tea. So we have to be so vigilant with these patients, the attendants, because the woman is usually sleeping after delivery. She's so tired. Even when she has a kangaroo care, then she'll go to sleep. And then the grandmother or the attendant who's with her will put something, and they'll bring a bottle and they'll put tea, milk and tea, and they'll feed the children the tea. We have called them, we have talked to them, we have told them, but we have to change the mindset through banners, posters, media news, small media campaigns, so that we come to know about it. Because the most important thing is this: for breastfeeding, I'm an advocate of maternal nutrition. I want my woman to be well nutrited. I want the attendants to give additional formula to mom, not to the kid. So if the mom is nutritionally stable, she'll produce a lot of milk, and that will be adequate for their grandchild.
Excellent. So the point well taken, that a dedicated line of lactation counselors will be so worthwhile, and we may put together and enhance Sneha's module to get this committee moving towards empowering many in the community who are connected with the healthcare workers for doing the needful in the best possible way. And the last but not the least, the young member of our team. Yes, Tazeen.
We have very few nurses. We have more doctors than nurses in the world. So in Pakistan, we have nurses are fewer than the doctors. So we cannot designate all the work to the nurses now. As probably in India, they have more nurses to doctors. There's a good doctor-nurses ratio, so they can allocate the nurses to do this. Our nurses are so few that we cannot let them. They cannot do it. Let them leave alone whether they want to do it or not. They are very less.
Yes, the human resource constraint in the entire SAFOG region exists, because the ratios of patient to nurse to doctors, etc., is very, and whether it is a second tier city or a rural area or a tertiary care center, everything is so complex. Actually, that is why we have this vision of non-negotiable minimal advice to be given at every touch point with everybody, whoever comes in contact with the patient, just in the passing, at least to encourage, support, re-endorse the action of the breastfeeding. But yes, I agree that we need to enhance the skills of the others in the community as lactational consultants to do the needful as well. So the last word from our young team member, Astha Shrestha. What do you think would be the role of digital platforms and social media, WhatsApp universities, Dr. Google? We have to be present there to give the right information. So what is your thought process on what this team can do moving forward?
Okay, so nowadays the social media, they are coming up so fast and everybody is like looking up to social media, and patients are coming to us saying that, okay, this is written in social media and you have to do this and that. So I think it plays a major role in encouraging the breastfeeding as well. So we can go up to the media and make some kind of videos or some good messages about the breastfeeding, what are the benefits and what benefits we know, and what are the benefits to the mother and the babies regarding the breastfeeding. We can make videos of that and we can post it in the social media so that all the patients, all the relatives of the patients and everybody got to know about what is breastfeeding and what is to be done. So it plays a major role in, I think it plays a major role in making the breastfeeding, making our goal 100% successful. Yes.
Sure. Thank you, Astha. I think, you being from the generation next and being tech savvy, I'm sure that we will draw upon your help as well. And we may borrow some resource materials from Susan and the team Figo and some infographics and some lots and lots of things to disseminate. So before closing, I want Roshana Appa. You have realized that we have
can I talk a bit before Roshanappa? I have
sure. But what I wanted to say that we as chairs and you as the secretary of this committee are very lucky, because there is a whole group of committed members who we have put on this panel, and everybody is looking ahead to do more work. So I think though we have a lot of work cut out and the journey is long, it will be a matter to revel upon as we move ahead together in future. So Farhana first, and then Roshana Appa before Yusuf Latik Khan places a vote of thanks. Yeah, Farhana.
Thank you, Hema. Actually, we have some strengths and some weaknesses in Bangladesh. I would just like to mention, among the strengths, we have the baby. The first strength is the neonatologists are too much committed. They are so much against the formula. They just won't let anybody have formulas, and they are just after us that we advocate this. Number one. Number two, the SCANU, the kangaroo mother care centers are so advanced, and in all the places they are advocating the breastfeeding, like Rubina said. Number three, we have the breastfeeding baby-friendly hospital initiative all over the country, and this is the joint by we obstetrician and the neonatologist, moving around, accrediting the centers, establishing the 10 steps for successful breastfeeding, and just hanging the thing in all the hospitals, those which are accredited. But and something else, and very recently we are promoting the labor room protocol, and in the labor room protocol we talk about the skin-to-skin contact and immediate breastfeeding within the first hour. But the weakness is it's not being maintained, and it's not always being followed. And another strength is the 6 months. You know, Susan said in the chat box about the paid leave. So government has extended the leave, maternity leave from 3 months to 6 months. And in all the working places, we have the baby crash. So, but the weakness is not being maintained. The baby hospital initiative, baby friendly hospital initiative is not being accredited regularly. And that we have a committee, baby friendly hospital initiative. We have a committee in all the hospitals, but committee is not all the time active. So that's all from my side. Thank you, Hema.
So good start, but half done. That's the message that I'm taking. You're good. Rashana Rapa.
Thank you, Dr. Hema. It's a long time. Everybody discussed so nicely. Though it is a simple thing, everybody was telling, Sham Disha also telling the physiological procedure, but it's a long way to go. Still, the percentage is only early initiation, only 43%. So we are committed with the with the teamwork. It's the teamwork. We'll do our work successfully. I think in our first next meeting, actually, we can show something has increased. The data is the data which we have seen today. We will do something. Our commitment, this commitment, will proceed next. So thank you, everybody. Everybody participated so lovely. It was a lovely discussion, and thank you, Hema, for your excellent moderation, and Rubina and all others, and Sham Desai, all those who are participated there. I'm grateful to them. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Namaste, and brilliant performance by all my very beloved panelists. And over to Farhana again.
Thank you, Hema. Thank you so much. I think you were really excellent and brilliant moderation, and having with us, showing us the way. Of course, we'll be showing the way for the rest of the time. Now, dear audience, I would like to request Professor Yusuf Latif, the Secretary General of SAFOG, to give the formal vote of thanks for this program, and with that, this program will end. So Dr. Yusuf Latif is the Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology in Rashid Latif Medical Center. He is the most active member of ART team in Life Clinic, Hamid Latif Hospital, founder member of Society of Gynecological Endoscopy, and Secretary for IVF Society of Pakistan, Scientific Secretary, IVF Society of Pakistan, General Secretary South Asian. He is the General Secretary I've already mentioned, and he has a lot of books and write-ups. So over to you, Dr. Yusuf, for your vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Farhana. It's indeed a pleasure, and it was a wonderful, I think, last 2 hours which we've gone through all this thing. And one of the things which is, I think, the most important is all of this during which we normally don't emphasize on is during our antenatal care, we don't emphasize this thing to the patient, the importance and how, and that skin to skin contact. I think this is the first time I kind of was an eye-opener for me to realize how important that was. Otherwise, it was absolutely, we wrap up the baby in the towel or a sheet and then hand it over to the mother, which does not have the same effect as the skin-to-skin, which I think these are things which we need to build on. And apart from that, it's also very important that the other team members of the nurses, the role of nurses is kind of the important ones, which we kind of forget, because they are the ones who are there hand in hand with the patient for a very, very long time, rather than the consultant coming in and doing a delivering and then leaving for their other jobs and whatever they want to do. But the nurses, they have to stay there, and the paramedical staff, they do that. So emphasis, and it was just a thought process that we need to kind of have the posters or something, these kind of information placed around the labor room or in our OPDs or in our surgeries, so that the patient can come in, have these pamphlets, or they have this awareness from this time. Apart from that, I think it was a wonderful time, and under the banner of Professor Rohana, it's been indeed a pleasure that he has made us work so hard at so many webinars been happening. And actually, this was reminded to me by Dr. Rubina Sohail. We met in the morning, and she reminded me that we have to be here today. Otherwise, there's so many coming in that you generally kind of lose track of that. And apart from that, I'm grateful for Figo as well as UNICEF for being part of this and involving this. I hope we have these videos coming in and we can put them on YouTube and other papers, so other people can kind of benefit from all this beautiful talks and discussion and all that. So in some places, there's, I think, very, very early morning, something like 4 in the morning in USA, and so on in the afternoon over here. So it's engaged. thank you from SAFOG family to everybody who kind of participated and doing that. And hopefully in the end, it will all benefit our patients and the newly beautiful babies. So thank you again and have a good day and see you soon again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Namaskar.
you. Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Hema ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Sham Desai sir.